Yeah. Welcome in. Welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast. Got a pretty interesting show for you here today. Going to talk some who else? LeBron James and I don't even know how to describe it. I'll just say more nonsense, but we'll get into that. If you're here on YouTube and you haven't already, you know what time it is. Please go ahead, click that like, that subscribe, and that notification bell. Make sure you stay up to date on all the new content that we drop on the channel. We're almost there in terms of hitting that magic number 1,000. And when we do that, then I'm going to go ahead and start getting that ball rolling towards getting these live call-in shows. Definitely looking forward to doing that because I'm sure a lot of you have a lot to say to me, whether you agree or disagree, and that's going to be a lot of fun and help take the show to the next level for 2024. If you want the audio only version of the podcast, open up your audio podcast platform, hit the search bar, type in the Format Podcast. We should come right up. If you're enjoying the comment, please make sure you give us that that 5-star review. Give us that thumbs up, symbolizing the like or whatever the like is on your podcast platform. And make sure you share the show. We need all that. Oh, and leave us a comment. All that stuff helps us rise in the algorithm, helps us find more sports fans, helps more sports fans find us. Let's get right to it. Okay, LeBron James. All right. By now, you already know how I feel about LeBron James and his shenanigans. I'll just use that term. His shenanigans, his machinations, his trickery. He's always up to something, right? And why do I say that? Well, LeBron James, as we know, has had one of the greatest careers in NBA history. I don't need to rehash all of that. His stats speak for themselves. His accomplishments speak for themselves, et cetera, et cetera. Now, obviously, he's with the Los Angeles Lakers now, and this is his 4th season in LA. And it's interesting to me. He has won a championship there, so let's make sure we give credit where credit is due for that. LeBron James is absolutely a champion. That was in the bubble. How you feel about it is how you feel about it. But the fact is this, he's a champion. And at the end of the day, while history will recognize that the championship was won in the bubble, it will also recognize that he won his 4th championship there. So that's all that really matters. So last year, the Lakers made it to the Western Conference Finals in the first season under head coach Darvin Ham. Now, this was interesting because, and I've mentioned this before, it was my firm opinion that this was going to be a bad look for Darvin Ham with taking this job with the Lakers and coaching LeBron. And why did I think it was going to be a bad look for Darvin Ham? Because Darvin Ham is was a rookie head coach last year, and he's a guy who hangs his hat on defense and physical toughness and really a grinding mentality from the time that he was a player. And so him being the head coach for the Lakers, the glamour franchise in the league, and of course, basically the face of the league, and LeBron James, I didn't think that would go well. One, because a lot of coaches, let's just call a spade, have been fired on LeBron James's watch. I want to say in 21 seasons, he's had 10 head coaches now. I want to say 10. That's what, 2.1, a different head coach every 2.1 seasons. And really, the numbers aren't even that close because he had the same coach for all 4 years in Miami with Eric Spoelstra. And as we know, he tried to get him fired too. But that's a different story. Anyway, I didn't think this was going to work out well because LeBron James has a tendency when he doesn't like what's going on to get passive aggressive, to move behind the scenes, to get coaches fired, to get teammates traded. And I know a whole lot of you LeBron fans out there are going to feel some kind of way about me saying that, but hey, it is the truth. LeBron James has had more teammates traded under his purview than any other superstar of his ilk. He's had more coaches fired under his purview than any other superstar of his ilk. I mean, common denominator, people, you got to start wondering, like, if he's what they say he is, why all this movement? Why does he need all this? I can't think of another all-time great player that has needed all this. Very interesting. Anyway, that might be a show in of itself. What other all-time great player in the NBA has needed all of this? But again, different thing. So the odd couple, Chris Broussard and Rob Parker on Fox Sports Radio, were actually discussing this topic a little bit last night in terms of a cryptic tweet that LeBron James sent out the other night after his team lost 138, I believe 122 to the Atlanta Hawks. And the Hawks aren't some great team either, but the Lakers lost that game. And so let's listen to what Broussard and Rob Parker had to say about it. Then we'll come back and kind of break it down and talk about it.
LeBron James, Rob, we talked about him yesterday, but then the Lakers went out and laid another egg and got hammered by the Houston Rockets, who are nobody's juggernaut. Rockets, the 11th seed in the Western Conference, I'm sorry. And LeBron James, as you might imagine, now they didn't have Anthony Davis. All right. Still, they got hammered by the 11 seeded Houston Rockets. And LeBron James was none too pleased. Here's what he said.
Brian, you guys are staying on the road for the next couple of games. Big matchup against Boston, big matchup against the Knicks. What would your message be to your teammate, and what can you do yourself, to get back on the winning side of things?
I don't have any message for my teammates. Just go out and do your job. I mean, I'm not yet. Appreciate it. You had to cut me off because I was about to go.
This is what LeBron should do with his teammates. Instead of sending the cryptic tweets, Rob G, tell us the tweet, Rob. LeBron said.
Well, he wasn't the only one first to send off a cryptic tweet. Things have been escalating in the Lakers locker room now for about a month. All started The Athletic, did that article where they had 6 sources around the team saying there was a growing disconnect between Darvin Ham and the Lakers. Darvin Ham, since then has done several post-game press conferences where he talks about we got to man up. These guys, the rotations are what they are. There's no popularity contest, and it's almost pitting him against the team. So yesterday, before the game, Anthony Davis was supposed to be starting as usual. He was ruled out due to hip and groin issues. And so you would think Christian Wood, the backup center, would get the start. He doesn't. Third stringer Jackson Hayes gets the start. He puts out LOL before the game. He tried to backtrack it after the game. It was a big ordeal, what have you. Well, after that kind of died down, about an hour later, LeBron James, fresh off his own media availability where he, supposedly saved himself from saying something stupid, decided he's going to put out an emoji of an hourglass. No context, no comment, just good old passive-aggressive LeBron James striking again.
So here's the deal. Rob Parker, he said later on in that clip, I didn't play the whole thing because it was going to get kind of long, and I wanted to get back to you guys and kind of break down my thoughts on it. But Rob Parker said something very interesting later. He said, this is who he is. He's not going to change. And it's true. What's the expression? You can't teach an old dog new tricks. 21 years in the league, LeBron James is not going to suddenly start doing things differently. And what I'll say is this: LeBron James is a master of what's called plausible deniability. We all assume that he's behind the scenes pulling the strings. In some cases, he's admitted being behind the scenes pulling the strings. Yes, when he admitted that when he was in Cleveland the first time, he would try to go up to the front office and advise them on what they should do, et cetera, but they didn't listen to him. So we know that he's always got his hands in there trying to control what happens, whether it's the coach, whether it's the players, trade this guy, trade that guy, get this guy, get that guy. We know that. And so Rob Parker said it, and he said, this is who he is. He's not going to change. And what Rob Parker meant by that was when you heard them talk about the cryptic tweet LeBron James put out, and it was just an hourglass. So there's a couple of things that LeBron likes to do with this. And one, I've mentioned this before in another episode, it's actually genius, because if his team's not doing well and if he's not the center of attention, he finds a way immediately to make himself the center of attention. And that's brilliant in terms of marketing. That's brilliant in terms of branding. That's really living by the mantra, there's no such thing as bad publicity, right? Because LeBron James knows that if the eyes are off me for too long, I got to get the eyes back on me. And he knows exactly how to do it. And how does he do that? He never says exactly what he's thinking. He never says exactly what he's feeling, but he says things to make people, he says and does things to make people discuss, what could he mean by this? What do you think this is? And to really get his name back in the proverbial mouths of all of us talking heads, of other athletes, fans, etc. And it really is brilliant. I can't hate on that. And so with the hourglass, this was really interesting, because now the question does arise. What does that mean? What does the hourglass mean? Could it mean that his time is ticking just in the league? Well, we know he wants to play with Bronny, so that may not be it. Could it mean that his time is ticking with the Los Angeles Lakers? We know he loves Los Angeles, and of course, he has a number of tremendous business interests there. LeBron is a brand unto himself, not just on the court, but we know he's the first guy to become a billionaire while he was still playing. So, he's doing great things there in Los Angeles in terms of his brand, in terms of his business ventures. He's absolutely killing the game there. So respect due for that. Could it be that he's saying Darvin Ham's time is ticking as coach of the Lakers? That wouldn't surprise me not one bit, because again, we've seen him get rid of coach after coach throughout his time in the league. Could it be that he's saying the time for certain teammates is ticking? That wouldn't surprise me either. Why? Because we've seen, again, no player has had more guys traded off of his teams. Well, I should say no player of LeBron James's ilk, of his status, has more players traded off his teams than LeBron James had in his career, right? And that gets back to one of the things I touch on all the time. If this guy's the GOAT, if he's so great, why does he always need so much help? Why do so many people have to go and come and manipulate the circumstances in order for him to win? Now, I have no problem. Let me be clear. I have no problem. Let me be clear. I have no problem whatsoever in organizations doing what they have to do to win. But when you're a player and you're trying to tell people and make people believe that you're the greatest of all time, but you're manipulating the circumstances at every turn, you can't be that. You simply cannot be that. And it's not because you need help. Everybody needs help. Magic Johnson played with a bunch of Hall of Famers. Larry Bird played with a bunch of Hall of Famers. Michael Jordan played with another Hall of Famer. For his second championship, Hakeem Olajuwon played with another Hall of Famer. Most of these guys, at some point or other, played with other Hall of Famers, and I get it. But LeBron James has played with more all-star talent than, again, any player of his level in NBA history. That's not my opinion. It's not my opinion. Go do the research. That's a simple one. That's not my opinion. Anyway, so this goes back to the hourglass emoji. So LeBron, I did say earlier that I understand why you do this, because it's brilliant marketing. It's a brilliant way to keep yourself in front of the camera, to keep yourself in a position where people can talk about you when they haven't talked about you for long enough, in your estimation. Totally get it. But then the flip side of this is, and I always talk about the two sides of a coin in life. Why is it that you always need so much? You always need so much attention. You always need so much help. You always need so much control. You can't just go out there and ball and be what you say you are. Come on, man. We constantly hear about how we've never seen a guy in year 21 play on the level you're playing on. And that is true. I can't deny that. That's true. You're out there getting it, LeBron. There's no question about that. But with all that said, still, why do you need so much? If you're that dude and you're doing what you're doing, why do you need so much? Anyway, so we talk about that. And then the other thing is, always with the passive aggressive. Maybe I come from a different generation and I'm old school, even though LeBron, I'm really not that much older than him. So it's really weird to me. I think a man should say what he means and mean what he says. And what do I mean by that? Say what you mean and mean what you say. Don't play the word games. Come out and say it. I don't got nothing to say to my teammates. Everybody just do your job. Come out and say what you mean, LeBron. What's all the mincing words and playing around and then making the cryptic tweets? Stop it. Say what you mean. You're asked. You're the guy. If you say what you got to say, who's going to say something to you? And if they do say something to you, what does it matter? You're a billionaire. You got 4 championships. You've been to the finals 10 times, which apparently losing more than you win is not a bad thing anymore. But anyway, but seriously, LeBron, you're at that point. You're at that level. You can say what you want, to whom you want, about whom you want, and no one's going to be able to do anything. Because like you said back in 2011, when you lost that first finals, we can say whatever we want and we can talk about you, but you're going to go back to living your life when you wake up that next morning. There's no question about it. So I really don't get it. It's frustrating to me. All the passive aggressive shots, all the cryptic. I mean, you can even go back to, I want to say Kevin Love when he got to Cleveland. When Kevin Love first got there and LeBron told him, don't try to fit in, just fit out, i.e. be you. And then later in the season, somehow everybody magically forgot when he tweeted that Kevin Love needs to, fit in, So it's like, what are we really doing here? What are we really doing here? Just, come on, man. Do like every other great superstar. Lift your team. Do what you got to do. But, that's right. You can't. You can't. Now, everyone's going to say, but Bruce, he took the worst team and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not even going to get into that breakdown. I could, but I'm not going to do that this episode. I actually learned some interesting things recently that I'll probably bring up on another episode. Looking forward to that. Or maybe on a live call-in show. Had that ammo ready. But, just, I guess none of this stuff would bother me as much if he hadn't come out and made the definitive statement that he believes he's the greatest of all time. And if so many people weren't trying to push the narrative that he's the greatest of all time. and all this other stuff. It wouldn't bother me. It would be like, okay, LeBron, you're just out here doing what you got to do. You're trying to have your success however you can have it, no problem. But the fact is, you said all that. Nah, I can't respect it. So what I want to know from you is, what do you think of LeBron's latest cryptic tweet? Do you think that he needs to just come out and say what he needs to say? What do you think of all his machinations and all his trickinations and all his stuff over the years? Are you concerned about Darvin Ham and his position as head coach of the Lakers? Leave your comments in the comment section. Can't wait to hear from you, and I'll be back with you next episode. And I'm out. Peace.